It's NBL Grand Final time, and you're in the no-flop zone, taking time out with me, Boti Nagy, and the always insightful Joey Wright. Today we're going to cover the Grand Final series as it stands, look at the new coach of the Boomers, take your viewers' letters and inquiries, and there's some very, very good ones, and we've got some predictions towards the end. Our subscribers, we're sort of struggling at the mid-600s, and we know a lot more of you are actually watching the program, so look, just hit that subscribe button for us. It'll help with our production costs and keep the show going. Talking of which, the Grand Finals, Game 1, Melbourne wins on the road. Game 2, Illawarra wins on the road. What's your takeaway at this point?
Well, I mean, it's great. Just for us, selfishly, we love to see another game. So we didn't, it was great to see Illawarra come back and win that one, tied up 1-1, going back to the gong. It looks like and feels like without Shaylee,
yes,
that's going to be a big win for them if they get that, if Melbourne gets that.
For the benefit of the viewers that didn't see it, Shaylee took a bit of an accidental bump from Will Hickey as they fell on the floor. Concussion protocols kept him out for the rest of the game.
And I think concussion protocols require 7 days from the test. So 7 days from the day is the first time he can have a test, and he needs to obviously pass that to get back. That's my understanding of the concussion protocol. That's if he had a concussion. So we're assuming that he did.
He didn't look that good.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, that means he misses games 3 and 4 and would likely be back for 5 if a 5th game is required.
Yeah, well, if they can maintain and get to game 5 without him and he comes back for game 5, he'll be a huge energy injection for them. So yeah, it could work for them but they got to pick up these wins, or at least one.
In game 2, I thought Melbourne really did well, considering they had a lot of foul trouble with Rob Lowe was almost non-factor from the outset. Then Marcus Lee was in foul trouble. Jack White was in foul trouble. And, a lot of things. Well, I'm not trying to imply that they wanted this series to go.
You sure? If you don't imply it.
I'm just saying Melbourne did well under those circumstances.
Well, they did. I think I think that size factor or reduction of size by Melbourne definitely worked in favor for the Hawks. Just having a smaller lineup out there, having to go small ball. Melbourne do look good when they play small ball, but I don't think they can get the big game or the big fourth quarter with that small ball team.
How impressed were you with them in game 1, given that they're 10 points down Melbourne? Illawarra is looking quite good, 10 up, even though at that stage Trey Kell has done pretty much 0 and Tyler Harvey has done 0. So they're 10 up. You're expecting those two guys are going to fire up in the second half. Like it was all there for them, and Melbourne changed their tactics and wiped them out.
Well, it helped that Delhi knocked down a 3 and then Chris knocked down 2 ridiculous threes. I mean, just this degree of difficulty on his shots right now, we should give him an extra point. Like, it's ridiculous some of the shots he's taking and making. I don't know if it's been a better shooting display in a series in Australia that I've seen, or maybe anywhere. The way he's shooting the ball now is just unbelievable.
Yeah, he has been phenomenal because the pressure they've put him under is extreme, and he's having to sort of twist and contort and whatever, and he's still making big shots.
Well, training him when he was a kid, one of the things I realized right away that he gets bored really quick if you just take him through a normal workout. So his workouts, you always had to add some degree of difficulty or flair to it or something, or he would get bored. I call him a mad scientist, and he's always been that way. He could do it this way, and he could do it probably easier. But Chris, he loves a tough shot. So he actually feels better if he's gonna hit if he's open too. But if he's got contested, he loves it.
When we came out of game 1, I thought Dean Vickerman had completely outcoached Justin Tatum in that one. I thought he'd gone small. He'd persisted with Todd Blanchfield, and the heat that Todd had shown had worn off. Like his first quarter was good enough that he's back to shooting this little one-handed thing that I can't stand.
He loves it. The one-handed
I know, but he's 1 of 6 of those. Like he makes the first one. Oh, keep doing that. It's like shoot your jump shot. You've got good technique. Shoot your jump shot, boy.
If you can get squared up that much, you might as well use 2 hands. If you can square yourself, it is a place for a jump. A
sure, there's a place for the floater. There's a place for all kinds of things. But when you consistently miss that shot, but you're in love with it, I don't know. So I thought in that game he didn't use Sam Froling. Justin Tatum didn't use Sam Froling well enough, and he probably persisted with his 2 studs when they were giving him nothing.
Yeah, but that's what you do because you can't lose them for the series. So if you don't believe in what you have as a coach, right from like that at the beginning of that series, he's got to roll with Trey Kell and Harvey no matter what.
Yep.
You have to. If you don't, and the coach, even the players on the team, see you as a coach lose confidence in your stars, then they lose confidence in their stars. So it kind of bombards. You got to just say, you know what, guys, you got us here. We're going to win it with you or we're going to lose it with you.
That's it. I mean, what I do like is that he's giving Dan Greeder opportunities that, I mean, he was the 11th man for quite a long time. So, I mean, on the one hand, if you're doing that, you're showing faith in somebody else.
Yeah, but that's a different position too.
Sure.
So those two, you know, at the 1 and 2 spot, I'm living and die with Harvey and Trey Kell. Like I'm gonna live and die with those guys.
Well, game 2 much better, even though the shooting percentages weren't great. But I think Trey Kell has played the only person that played the entire first quarter, and he was subbing pretty freely. He's got double figures at the end of the quarter. Nice numbers all the way through. I think it was 18, 8, 6, and 4 steals. Pretty good contribution.
Yeah.
And then let's go to the last play. Well, let's go to the last quarter, because just before the last quarter, Hickey hits that 3 that hits the front of the ring and goes up. And it's like, is it going to make it? Goes through. So they're 11 up at 3/4 time. And you're thinking, geez, a lot of foul trouble for Melbourne. 11 up. I think they're home and hosed. And then in comes Ian Clark. 16-point last quarter and a 31-point game.
Well, he's a consummate pro. He's won at the biggest level in the NBA. He's won here before. You got to expect in a final situation that he's going to step up. It's a little bit of, so when I was coaching, our teams would play at good 95 to 100% of our clip all year. So we were like a Wollongong, where we're taking guys that maybe hadn't been big stars, we're winning with them, we're getting things done. We get to the playoffs, and all of a sudden, a team that's been playing at 70, 80%, bouncing up and down, from 1 to 4 or whatever, all of a sudden their studs start to say, you know what, it's playoff time now, let's go. And that veteran is a whole different veteran than he was all year. So you take a guy like Ian Clark, he's played hard all year, no question about it. Hadn't played probably his best season, hadn't had his best season. But finals, you can count on a guy like that. Yeah. You know he's going to step up and be ready for finals.
As you said, Dellavedova hits a 3. Chris Gordon hit a couple of impossible shots that get to within a point a couple of times in the last quarter. A few little plays. One, Swakalo Bullock made a really important putback, and they just keep their noses in front. We got 10 whatever it was, 4 seconds to go. And Tyler Harvey fouls Ian Clark in the corner, taking a 3. You know what that took me back to? It took me back to Illawarra Hawks when they were Wollongong playing Adelaide in the semi-final, when Darnell Mee fouled Damon Lowry on the last run. Well, the call was made. I'm saying I'm going.
I don't know, guys. Damon, don't you call me?
Well, what the history of it is that he fouled him, right? And that was because he'd seen Lowry during that season several times hit big shots. So he didn't want to take a chance where Adelaide loses on that last play. And so he fouled him. The foul was made. The Harvey foul on Clark, I understand Clark was, like I said,
that was a foul.
Point. Yeah,
that was a foul.
But why foul him? Like, let him make that shot if he's going to.
If he's going to make that shot, he's got to make that shot. Like, you don't jump at that. You don't contest. I mean, you contest, but you contest from a spot. He's not one of those guys that jump forward or to the left either, so he's not going to usually draw a foul on that. He doesn't kick his feet at all. It's just stupid, but how good was it when he came back and hit that shot? And it was not the best shot either. Yeah,
he had to.
He had to. It's not the best shot ever, though.
So Clark hits the 3 free throws, puts them up 100 to 99. They take time out. And when they come back on the floor, I'm thinking, you only need a 2 here. Yeah. Little back screen lob. You got 10 seconds. You can sort of get something, your favourite Ira Clark sort of play.
Yeah.
But he's got all these 3-point shooters on. Blanchfield subbed in. Hyung Jong Lee subbed in. I'm thinking, he's going to go for a 3. Sure. Maybe that's a misdirection, and we're going to get a layup from someone because you got all these 3. Yeah. He runs through. Harvey runs through, catches it, turns, swish.
Squares up. No, he looks at him a minute, and then he pulls up. But it was great. He knew it in the interview he had. When he said in the interview he was hoping that winning him for his makeup for his foul. Yeah. So he knew it. He knew it.
Isn't it? Aren't Melbourne United fans the luckiest? Because, I mean, they got to see this time last year Jack McVeigh hit the greatest shot of all time to beat their team. Yeah. Now they've got to see Tyler Harvey hit a magnificent shot to beat their team. So, I mean, they go down in really classic circumstances. even in the semi-final, almost Jesse Wagstaff's 3 at the end was almost
that's true.
just as big. So if you're a United fan, you're very lucky at your home games because you're seeing some great basketball.
Less than 4 or 5 points in all their finals games the last couple seasons. That's amazing.
Yep.
Playing good ball.
Let's move on to the big news of the week, and that is that Adam Capehorn has been appointed the Boomers coach. Adam is the guy that I've had a crack at a couple of times for drawing up last plays at the World Cup and Olympics. That didn't work.
But has no bearing on whether he can coach or not.
Well, if you're drawing up a play that doesn't work.
Well, you can't put that all on him, especially he was assistant coach at the time. I think it's a good hire. I don't know that I would have hired Adam. I probably would have looked at someone like Dean. But
Dean is in the panel. I'll tell you in a second. Go on.
Yeah, I would probably pick someone like Dean or Trevor. I thought veteran guys that have probably been around a little bit. But hey, Adams, he's been around enough basketball. He's played. He was a really good player. Who knows? I think he'll do a good job.
He's an assistant coach of the Washington Wizards at the moment in the NBA. Has been at St. Mary's, was at the Center of Excellence, I think, was. He coached there for a long time, which doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a good coach, because Marty Clark was a great example of someone who was good in that junior program, but when he stepped up to the professional level was all at sea. But, I mean, he's been around. There's been guys like, when I say he's been around, I mean Capehorn's been around, and guys like Jock Landale have sort of immediately stepped up and said, I would like that as a choice. So this is now definitely the changing of the guard. The Paddy Mills, Joe Ingles, Matthew Dellavedova, that era is it's
gone, and it was a great era, and we enjoyed it. And they played some great basketball and even medaled. But it's some young guys stepping up now, and it's time to probably roll that whole thing over and go with a youth movement.
And they've appointed Dean Vickerman as associate head coach, which means that for Asia Cup or FIBA qualifiers, all those events where Capehorn's not available because he's with the Washington Wizards, Dean will be in charge of the Australian team. So that I think is a good thing. There's a good balance there.
Yeah, I think it's a great balance. Dean will be able to help step up, but I never believe in the weak head coach theory and boost it up with a great, strong bench and assistant coaches. I don't believe in that theory. Adam's going to have to step up, show he's the leader of that team, and coach them the way they should, or they won't be good.
How tall was Dan Kickett? Do you remember?
About 6'7", 6'8".
Only? Not 6'9",
I think he was listed as 6'9", but I don't think he was that tall, but probably 6'7", 6'8".
Well, so he's left the Sydney Kings bench as an assistant.
Oh, really?
And a 7-foot guy named Andrew Bogut is sitting down in that same seat. So I'll be very interested to see how Andrew Bogut fares as an assistant coach to Brian Goorjian.
I would be very interested to see how that's going to work. One, because Andrew has such a strong personality. I don't really see him as assistant coach. I could see him as a head coach.
Yep.
But to see him as assistant coach, and maybe that's what he's trying to get a feel for, to get his coaching voice out there and see what happens. But yeah, that's a different pick.
Yeah. Are you implying there that there could be a succession plan being?
I mean, why wouldn't it? I mean, Brian can't coach forever. I don't think he's interested in coaching forever. So, in the next 3-4 seasons, they got to be grooming someone and getting ready. And who else better than Andrew?
All right, we're going to have some great viewers topics this week.
Closing my legs.
Yeah, nothing about your legs. No. Tom Farnan, who's a long-time fan and was very generous in his praise, and thank you, said he'd love to hear our perspectives on these. If Trevor Gleeson was coaching the Wildcats semi-final decider instead of John Rillie, would he have prioritized getting Bryce unguarded shots in the dying minutes instead of having Bryce draw a double team and pass to his teammates?
Well, once again, the coach can't control that the other team decide to double team Bryce, and no coach in the world can come up with a play to beat double teams. I mean, it's got to be player created, and if they're going to double Bryce, then someone else on the court's got to step up.
In the same game, the TV footage showed both coaches simultaneously during their final timeouts. Their body language was very different. Dean was squatting and talking up to his players in what seemed to be a calm manner. John was hunched above his players and seemed angry to be yelling. One or two of the Perth assistants seemed to be yelling extra instructions to the team as the huddle dispersed. And as the players re-entered the court, they seemed to be decoding the information to each other. I'm particularly interested in Joey's take on quantity of instruction and the energy in which it's delivered during critical moments.
Well, no head coach understands that more than the head coach at Perth and the head coach at Melbourne or whatever. We can't, from the outside, know what they know. They go to practice every single day and practice 2 to 3 hours for John to know who he should be talking to, the way he should be talking to him, who he should be putting in on the court. We don't know that. We're not at practice, so it's no way that we can ever sit in the stands and judge how he should be talking to players. The information they will disseminate, like that's they know all that. We don't know it. We're not privy to it.
Yeah, if you're giving out, say, 5 instructions at a time, 5 guys come in, one's reaching for the towel, missed instruction number 1, might have heard 2, didn't hear 3 because he was getting his drink. Like, it should be concise, shouldn't it? Really to the...
well, you want no, it shouldn't be precise and to the point. It should be how he communicates with his team. For example, my Brisbane team, we're in the finals, and I know their timeout personality. When they come to the timeout, Sam McKinnon never really looked at me much. He'd get everything I said. He never looked at me and really comment. CJ would be getting snakes on the back. Ebby would be talking to Dusty. They talk. I would give out instruction. Look like nobody was listening. They go out there and do exactly what I wanted. So it just depends on the personality of the team. Matter of fact, when we were down 12 points against Melbourne in the first game of the grand final that year, I called a timeout, and I got to the bench, and everybody was looking at me. I said, I'll tell you what. I said, next damn time I call a timeout, CJ, I want you getting snakes. Ebby, I want you talking to somebody else. Sam, don't look at me like that. And they all start laughing. We went out there and we went on like a 16-point run. I needed their personalities back.
Yeah.
But no, it depends on the team.
But I've always thought that the team reflects the coach's personality. Like back in the day when, say, Phil Smythe was coaching Adelaide, he was sort of fairly relaxed and calm and just enjoying himself. And that's the way the team tended to play. Calm, relaxed, enjoying itself. There were other coaches that were agitated, making a lot of subs, etc., and their teams look that way on the floor. So I think you do, if you're coming across calmly, relatively calmly, as Dean does, and I mean, when you go into a Justin Tatum timeout, he's very focused, and you can see the boys sitting around him; they're all very focused. Now, you do take on the personality of your coach.
I think the teams take on the personality of the coach, but how you communicate is different than your personality. Right. And so every great team figures out how they're going to communicate with one another, and nobody else has a say in that. Like, we can't look and say, "Oh, you should be talking to them like this."
Yep.
That's on them.
Okay. This one's from Artie, and this one you can answer, or I can answer, or we can do 50-50. It says, I'm impressed how you guys answer viewers' questions. Thank you. But in previous episodes, you seem to talk about Adelaide too much and are overly critical about them. Why is that, or am I wrong here? You're wrong, but you're...
I'm definitely hypersensitive about not talking about LA more than we talk about all the rest of the teams in the league. So we try to balance it out. But just being here in Adelaide, we're going to see more Adelaide stuff. So we're naturally going to speak probably a little bit more about Adelaide. I don't think I was critical of Adelaide all year. I actually thought they were a really good team.
You said that many times. They had the talent to win the championship.
They had the talent to win the championship. I thought they were at their 4 spots. They were the best 4 in the league.
Yeah.
So
I thought my biggest crack at them was at Mike Wells in the game against Southeast Melbourne, where they squandered a 21-point lead, and he's on the sideline looking like he doesn't know what to do and doing nothing other than making subs and then blaming the refs, which is...
It can't be that one thing, because we've all been on the sideline, including you, down 20 and not knowing what to do. We tried everything. We tried every rotation. We tried every defensive scheme. We tried every offensive scheme.
All I'm getting at is that we were, like, if you think about our criticisms, or yours more specifically, say about Jalen Adams at Sydney or Cam Oliver, I mean, we've been critical when it's required. I don't think we've been particularly harsh on Adelaide. No. Okay, Ballaholic our regular is back. He said, we all know Bryce is an amazing offensive talent. Why do teams tend to let him off at the other end? He's a short guy. If the guy he's guarding has 20 kilo and 6 inches on him, why not give it to the player and make Bryce have to defend every possession, be physical and wear him out? It might help you contain him offensively. It's a good strategy, no question.
It is a good strategy, and a strategy I try to employ many times. And we would, not just Bryce, but any small guard, I always believe in creating a mismatch on the low post, whether it's with my point guard or my 5-man, if we can create that mismatch. And we tried. He's a lot smarter than you think. Like, you think you could just go down there and bully him and score a couple times. He's pretty smart, and he's stronger than he looks, and he plays great position. And you might get a 1 out of 3 down there isolating him on a block 1 out of 3, which is not enough to keep going.
No.
If you were scoring 2 out of 4 times, a 50% ratio or higher, then you could keep going at that. But he actually does a pretty good job. I know I'm with you, but it just doesn't work. I've tried it multiple times. We'll still always go at any offensive player who is scoring well. We're going to go at them on the other end. But he does a pretty good job.
When looking for an import, is it better to look for a new talent overseas or target an import that's already in the NBL and is used to how it's played and called?
Depends on where you're at with your team.
Yep.
If you're with your team and you're already established and you want to just add someone in that, not going to rock the boat too much, and you know that this import is that, then you just hire that guy.
Joey, as coach, if your team had an awful game where they stuffed every play and defensive assignment, how did you handle practice that week? Is it boot camp and punish them physically, or do you take the mental game approach and business as usual and make them wonder why you're not getting mad at that performance? Well,
I judge everything on effort levels. So if we gave the greatest effort levels possible, but we still blew the defensive schemes and blew the offensive schemes, normal business, right? The next day of practice. If we didn't give that effort, then whether we won by 20 or lost by 20, practice is not going to be fun.
All right, Kieran Short, it's a good one. Who's the most humble, ethical, and non-egotistical player in the NBL? By ethical, I mean no foul baiting, no flopping, just honest basketball. Someone who gives back to the community, is a great role model for young and old fans, and a true ambassador for the game. Who stands out to you? There's a bit more. I'm going to add a bit more, but I'll wait till you answer this bit.
It's a lot of guys.
Right now,
yeah.
Go on.
I mean, it's a lot of guys. Bryce being one. Bryce is amazing.
No, he's not. He's not. It says here, no foul baiting, no flopping, just honest basketball. You can't say that Bryce Cotton doesn't flop.
I don't think what we call flopping is that significant a point where we could tear down someone's character and how they play. It's just they're trying to outsmart you in every possible way, and they're going to use the advantages, any advantage they have to be successful. And the referee has a choice: call a flopping foul. That's your choice. It ain't. I don't think trying. I mean, it's saying no difference when we pump fake, get someone in the air, and lean a little.
No, that's just smart. That's different. Because you're tricking your opponent. You're not tricking the referee.
Well, the referee can't be tricked. He got the whistle, so it's up to him. He doesn't need to be
tricked.
Well, no, he can if he's good.
Depending on what camera angle, it looks like he just punched me.
That's it.
Hey, come on.
You can't. You got 3 cameras. You got 3 cameras and 3 refs, and you can't. You can't trick anybody.
I'm not with you on Bryce. Not on that question.
It's a lot of great guys out there.
Okay, I'd go with Sam Froling.
Sam Froling is excellent.
He's that sort of guy. And historically, I'd go with Brett Maher, because when I wrote his book, Marvelous, a marvelous piece of work too, I might say. Just pat myself on the back. When I wrote that, the amount of research that went into it, I did not come across a single person, not a single person in basketball or in his private life or anywhere that had a bad word to say about him. I think that in itself, and then his post-basketball career, he's a fireman, but potentially bringing people.
That's what I worry about, him being a fireman. That's what I worry about.
If your house is on fire.
Yeah, that's what I worry
about. Carry me out. I think he's one. And the bit I didn't read out was just this. Kieran says he's a fan of Tyler Harvey, so go Illawarra. He'd be a happy man up to the end of that particular game. Okay, Super Coach Pleb says, I tracked all NBL players' off-season moves, and there's an abundance of players, local and imports, going to the BSN, which is the Puerto Rican League. Where do they get all this money to sign these players? And, Bryce Cotton's one that's your humble, non-egotistical, no foul baiting, great player. He's gone there. So where do they get this money?
Well, I don't know where they get the money from, but a lot of countries are able to pay pretty good money. It's a great place to go for a short period of time. You don't have a career in Puerto Rico. You can go down there and play 5 amazing games and average 30, get 10 on your 5th game, and on your 6th game, they'll cut you. So it's very cutthroat. You go down there and make as much money in a short period of time as you can and get out of there. Okay. But it's a good league. It's very competitive.
The Fake Maker says, would you rather have a talented player who doesn't work hard or a hard worker with less talent?
Hard worker with less talent all day.
That's a very easy one, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a very easy one.
Yeah.
When I'm coaching kids, we're looking for the kid that's going to get out and work hard. I feel like at Shoot HQ and Treasure Sports that if a kid works hard, we can teach them the techniques and they're going to get there, but they got to work hard. So I always start with that element first.
Same here as a coach. That was always what I looked for, was the person that wanted to do the extra.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk a little bit about NBA because did you see that performance by Nikola Jokic the other day when he's 30 plus in the points, 20 plus rebounds, 20 plus assists? You know, the last 7 footer that put those sorts of stats out was a guy named Wilt Chamberlain.
You've been waiting for that all weekend.
Just like you were
I,
waiting for the coach, women's coach last week. But go on anyway.
I didn't see it live, but
Mm.
we're at the gym and everybody's talking about it. So we're at UHQ and everyone's speaking about, what happened. So we went home and watched it. It was weird because yes, he did do all that, but it just didn't.
Yeah, it wasn't flashy.
It wasn't flashy at
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
It didn't show up like that. I kept watching the game. I was like, yeah, okay, when is he going off? Like, when is he going? And then just gradually, he just compile. Now we'll say they're pretty generous on assists.
Yeah.
Pretty generous on assists. So the hockey assists, I think they're counting that nowadays.
Yeah.
So
I've always thought that. I remember when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar scored his whatever it was, 1 millionth point way back,
yeah,
and they had footage on the TV news. And they're talking about Magic Johnson having his 1,000th assist or whatever. So Magic sort of passed the ball to Kareem on the block, right? And then Kareem has sort of made a move inside as though he's going to do something, and then he sort of head feinted and jumped back and done the skyhook and. Well, Magic's back at centre. Like, he had really nothing to do with it. All he did was give him the ball. Okay, that's your assist. Now, let's stay with this because NBA team, the New Orleans Pelicans, it will be the first NBA team in history to come to Australia in October. They're going to play a couple of matches in the first week of October against Melbourne and Southeast Melbourne. John Koehner, any your thoughts on that?
huge.
Yeah.
I think it's huge. I think it's a great opportunity for us to see a NBA team against an NBL team on our side.
Yeah.
After they've taken a couple days flight.
Yeah.
Let's see how they respond to that. So I think it'd be great for that, but just a great opportunity for NBA fans to come out and just still merging the NBL name with the NBA name. It's always a good thing.
And a reminder that Court of Gold on Netflix is a great series that Joey has enjoyed as much as I have.
It is very good.
All right, we'll be back in a second to talk about our thoughts for the rest of the grand final. We're back and the breaks are off as we talk about games 3, 4. They're going to happen, maybe 5. How do you see it playing out from here between Melbourne and Illawarra as it goes back on Sunday to Wollongong?
Well, I think a big key is Illy and what happens there. We're assuming that he has a concussion, but we don't know that to be true. And him not being there is one of the biggest keys for them. I think only other person that'd be more important is Chris Goulding. So I think how that plays out is going to be a factor, but I think Illawarra gets the next one going back.
Do you see it going when it goes back to Melbourne? Do you see it going again back for a game 5? Because my prediction earlier was that Melbourne wins it in 4. But if it goes 5, Illawarra wins it. You said I can't have. I was just talking to fans of both teams there. That's what I'm doing. Talking to fans like Melbourne
Both
people will
sides.
win it in 4. So I still believe that. I think the longer it goes, Illawarra will be the better team.
I think so too. Because if it goes further games, then we got to see that shooting display by Chris for them to be competitive every single game.
Yep.
The odds are that he can't continue to shoot like that. If he does, great. Same thing with Ian Clark. They got to continue to have those big games. But I just think without Illy, they just don't have the right fire. And he's proven that.
Oh, sure. I've always thought he's one of their most important players, if not the most. But I think I will say is that Tanner Krebs has been very, very good. And even Flynn Cameron in game 2 got a few minutes and did really well with them.
Yeah.
So they have got, it's not like they run out of shooters.
I think they, like both, obviously, Wollongong's bench has been amazing all year and been one of the highest production benches of anybody all year. But the ability of the players on the bench at Melbourne, if they raise, I think they can raise higher than the bench at Wollongong. Meaning guys like Tanner Krebs can come out and really, if he goes for 30, we're not surprised. Only the fact that, Chris did go for 30, that's the only surprise. I think those guys, and I love Cameron. I think he's a star of the league.
So do I.
Like, he's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I think we're actually seeing a subtle start of the change at Melbourne because they have to get younger next year.
Got to get younger next year.
Rob Lowe, he won't be around. He'll retire. Yeah. And there's a few of the other guys are on the dark side of 30. So it'd be interesting to see those guys are ready to step up, I think.
I don't think Delhi wants to go anywhere. Meaning I think he's going to definitely continue to play some more years, but they got to get younger, either with Ian Clark's position or somebody, but they do have to get younger.
If he was to leave Melbourne, just a quick hypothetical, what sort of club needs a Matthew Dellavedova?
Every club.
Really?
Every club. Yep. I'd take him on every team, any team I've ever. Who he is just unbelievable. We talk about, standouts for the league and great guys. I think he's amazing. you know, we look at his game and we can talk about it's not pretty, and you know, people love to do that, but I think he can play for any team, and any coach would enjoy him.
That's it for us for this week. When we come back next time, we may have a new NBL champion, or we'll be talking about Game 5. See you then.